adored actresses goes head-to-head with one of TV's boldest talk show hosts. Today, we're unpacking a fiery exchange that had everyone buzzing when Julia Roberts appeared on The View and things spiraled out of control. This is the story of how Joy Behar pushed America's sweetheart to the brink, ending in one of daytime TV's most unforgettable walk-offs. Don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments, because this is one moment you won't forget. Under the bright studio lights, Julia Roberts walked onto the View stage. Her trademark smile lit up the room as the crowd burst into cheers. Wearing a stunning emerald dress that highlighted her famous red hair, she waved kindly and took her seat next to the panel. Whoopi Goldberg greeted her with warmth, joined by Sarah Haynes and Sunny Hostin. But Joy Behar's mood that day seemed different. While the others seemed excited to welcome Julia, Joy leaned back with a faint smirk and eyes that hinted at something more than curiosity. "Julia, welcome back to The View," Whoopi began with a kind tone. "It's always a joy having you with us." "Thank you so much," Julia replied with that familiar laugh that fans have loved for decades. "I really enjoyed being here with you all. It always feels so uplifting." The conversation started smoothly. Sarah asked about Julia's new film, and Sunny asked about her family. Julia responded with charm and humor, telling stories that made the audience laugh and the hosts nod along in admiration. But Joy stayed unusually quiet, watching Julia with a sharpness that felt a little off. "You know, Julia," Joy suddenly cut in, interrupting Sarah mid-sentence. "I've followed your career for years, and I've got to ask, don't you ever get bored of playing the same type of character over and over?" The question hit like a jolt, and the studio fell quiet. Julia's smile faded briefly before she gave a small, controlled laugh. "I'm not sure what you mean, Joy," Julia said carefully. "I've worked hard to take on different roles across my career." "Oh, come on," Joy pressed, leaning forward with a grin that didn't seem friendly. "The pretty woman, the romantic lead, the sweet girl with the big smile. It's always the same story in a new setting. Don't you think people deserve more from someone with your so-called talent?" Whoopi shifted in her chair, clearly uncomfortable with where the conversation was heading. "Joy, I think Julia's shown plenty of range in her movies," she began, trying to ease the moment. But Joy wasn't ready to stop. "Let's be honest. You've built a whole career on being America's sweetheart. But what happens when America gets tired of sweet? What happens when people start craving something real?" Julia sat up straighter. For the first time, her smile was completely gone. "I think my body of work speaks for itself, Joy. I always try to bring something true to each role I play." "Authenticity?" Joy scoffed with a sharp laugh. "Is that what we're calling it now? Because from here, it just looks like you've been playing the same version of yourself for 30 years. The other hosts exchanged nervous looks as the air grew heavier in the studio. Sunny tried to pull things back. "Julia, tell us about what's coming up next for you. I hear you've got some exciting projects." But Joy wasn't done. "No, let's talk about something else," she said, her voice growing harsher. "Let's talk about privilege. Let's talk about how easy it is to maintain this flawless image when you've never had to deal with real struggles." Julia's expression hardened. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," Joy continued, clearly feeding off the tension. "You've lived a golden life. Born beautiful, discovered young, given success on a silver platter. What do you actually know about struggle? About the real world the rest of us live in?" The studio was now completely silent, everyone sensing that something unusual, even historic, was unfolding. Julia drew a breath, clearly holding back emotion. "Joy, I think you're making unfair guesses about my life," she said, voice steady but sharp. "You don't know the journey I've had or the obstacles I've faced. Don't I?" Joy snapped back. "Because from where I'm sitting, your biggest struggle has been picking which mansion to live in." Whoopi now stepped in, firmer this time. "Okay, Joy, I think we need to." But Joy cut her off. "No, Whoopi. I think it's time someone asked the hard questions. I think it's time someone called out this whole perfect princess routine for what it really is, a carefully built illusion. Julia had turned pale, but her voice remained composed. I've never claimed to be perfect, Joy. I've been honest about my flaws and how I've grown. Have you, though? Joy pushed again. Or have you just fed the public a cleaned-up version of your life approved by a team of publicists? When was the last time we saw the real Julia Roberts, not the one polished for press tours? The tension in the room was now unmistakable. Even the camera crew had shifted, sensing they were filming more than just an interview. They were capturing TV history. I think there's been a misunderstanding, Julia said, her voice tight, the strain beginning to show. I came here today to talk about my work and connect with your audience, not to be personally attacked. Joy leaned back, clearly enjoying the growing discomfort around her. Oh, is that what you call this? An attack? She asked with a smirk. I thought this was just honest conversation. Isn't that what talk shows are for, honesty? There's a big difference between honesty and cruelty, Joy. Julia replied, her composure beginning to crack. There's a line between tough questions and purposely trying to harm someone. Harm someone? Joy laughed again, that same sharp laugh that was beginning to unsettle everyone. Sweetheart, if a few honest comments hurt your feelings, maybe you're not as strong as you like to seem. The words hit like a slap. Julia's face turned red, and the whole studio seemed to freeze, waiting to see how she would respond. Strong, Julia repeated, her voice lowering, now barely above a whisper. You want to talk about strength, Joy? Let me explain something to you. Strength is sitting here, listening to you tear me apart for no reason other than your own amusement. Strength is choosing not to meet your cruelty with the same energy. Joy's eyes sparkled with excitement. Oh, now we're getting somewhere. There's the spark I knew was hiding behind all that sweetness. Tell me, Julia, how does it feel to finally drop the act? This isn't an act, Julia replied, her voice rising just slightly. This is me trying to hold on to some dignity, while you try to tear me down in front of everyone watching. Unprovoked? Joy scoffed. Everything I've said today is fair game. You're a public figure, honey. You put yourself out there. You open yourself up to criticism. Sarah Haynes looked like she wanted to disappear under the table. Maybe we should take a quick break, she suggested softly. No breaks, Joy declared, waving her hand. We're just getting started, Julia. Let's talk about your marriages. 3 of them, right? That's not exactly the fairy tale image you like to sell, is it? The audience gasped. Whoopi looked stunned. Joy, that's completely out of line, she said sharply. Is it? Joy shot back. She talks about love and soulmates in every interview. Makes a living doing movies about perfect relationships. But her real-life love story doesn't match, does it? Julia's hands were visibly shaking now. Whether it was from anger, sadness, or both wasn't clear. My personal life is just that, personal. It has nothing to do with why I'm here. But it says a lot about who you are, Joy insisted. It shows the gap between who you really are and the person you pretend to be in all those rom-coms. Maybe you're not the expert on love that you want people to think you are. I've never claimed to be an expert on anything, Julia said, her jaw clenched. I'm an actress. I play roles. That's what I do. Joy let out another one of her cold laughs. Right. You play characters. The trouble is, you never stop acting. Even now, even sitting here, you're still playing a part. When do we get to meet the real Julia Roberts? You want real? Julia's voice was shaking, full of emotion barely held back. You want to see something real? This hurt you're causing, this embarrassment you're putting me through in front of millions, this is real. Good, Joy replied without missing a beat. Finally. Some truth. Some real emotion instead of that polished charm you always give us. Sunny Hostin looked horrified. Joy, I really don't understand what you're trying to prove here. Julia is our guest, a guest who's been lying to the public for years. Joy snapped. A guest who's built a whole career around being fake. Fake? Julia's voice broke as she repeated the word. You think I'm fake? That everything I've worked for, every accomplishment, all of it is fake? I think you're a brand, Joy said coldly. A perfectly packaged brand made to sell movie tickets and magazine covers. And I think the real Julia Roberts, whoever she is, disappeared a long time ago. Even the camera crew looked uncomfortable now. Julia stared at Joy for a long moment, tears welling in her eyes. Then she spoke quietly. You know what, Joy? You're right about one thing. There is a real Julia Roberts under all of this. And that person is telling me that I don't have to sit here and take this. Take what? You call this abuse now? Joy mocked. No, Julia said, rising from her seat. But trying to humiliate someone on purpose, trying to make them feel small, feel worthless, that is abuse. And I won't be part of it. Not from you. Not from anyone. Joy's face shifted slightly, a flicker of uncertainty appearing for the first time. Oh, come on, Julia. Don't be so dramatic. Sit down. This isn't drama, Julia said firmly. This is a public takedown. This is you using your platform to bully someone. And I'm not going to be part of it anymore. The other hosts looked visibly alarmed. Whoopi stood up as well, trying to calm the situation. Julia, please don't go. We can work this out. But Julia was already reaching for her microphone, beginning to detach it. No, Whoopi. We can't fix this. Some things don't get better with an apology. Some things are just wrong. Joy, perhaps realizing she'd pushed too far, tried a softer tone. Look, Julia, if I hurt your feelings, that wasn't my intention. I just wanted to have an honest conversation. Julia turned to her, facing her directly. Her expression held pain, but her voice stayed clear. Your intention? Every part of this has been intentional, Joy. Every question, every jab, every attempt to make me look fake or foolish, that was all planned. That's not true, Joy argued, but even she didn't sound convinced anymore. Isn't it? Julia asked firmly. Then explain why everything you've said has been meant to cause pain. Why you ignored every effort from the other hosts to change the subject. Why you seem to enjoy making me this uncomfortable. Joy fell quiet, and for the first time since the interview started, she looked unsure. The audience was completely still, holding on to every word of this unexpected and emotional confrontation. I'm a journalist, Joy finally said in a low voice. It's my job to ask hard questions. No, Julia replied, her tone steady but intense. You're not being a journalist right now, Joy. You're being a bully. And I've spent too many years around bullies to sit here and let you keep going. The word bully hit Joy like a slap. Her face flushed, and the confident attitude she'd been wearing all morning began to slip. The studio was quiet as the two women stared at one another. The tension was thick, like the air had stopped moving. I'm not a bully, Joy said, sounding both defensive and shaken. I've been doing this job for years, and no one's ever called me that. Then maybe it's time someone did, Julia replied, calm but unwavering. Maybe it's time someone pointed out the difference between asking thoughtful questions and just being cruel. Joy's jaw tightened. You want to talk about cruel? Let's talk about lying to millions of people. Let's talk about pretending to be someone you're not. And what exactly am I pretending to be? Julia snapped. What lie am I telling by trying to make people happy with my work? You're pretending to be perfect, Joy shot back. Pretending to have it all figured out. Pretending to be this symbol of joy and goodness, while real people are out here dealing with real problems. Julia shook her head slowly, in disbelief. I've never claimed to be perfect. I've never said I had all the answers. All I've ever tried to do is my job, to entertain people, maybe help them smile for a couple of hours. But that's the problem. Joy continued, unable to stop. You make it look easy. You act like happiness is just a choice, like success is just about having a pretty smile and a cheerful attitude. And that bothers you? Julia asked, genuinely confused. It upsets you that I try to be positive? It bothers me because it's fake. Joy burst out. Life isn't a feel-good movie. Life is hard, and messy, and painful. And when you go around acting like it's all sunshine and laughter, you make it worse for people who are actually struggling. The other host sat frozen, watching this personal battle play out in front of the world. Whoopi looked like she was searching for a way to end it peacefully, while Sarah and Sunny just looked disturbed. Julia remained quiet for a moment. Then she spoke again, softly but with a strength she hadn't shown earlier. You know what, Joy? You're right. Life is hard. It's messy. It's filled with pain and disappointment. Joy seemed caught off guard by this. She hadn't expected agreement. But life is also beautiful, Julia continued, her voice growing stronger. It's full of little moments of love, hope, and happiness. And if my work, even if you call it fake, helps just one person remember that, then I'm proud of what I do. Joy muttered under her breath. That's just naive. But her voice lacked the same bite. No, Julia said firmly. What's naive is thinking that tearing people down makes you more real. What's naive is believing that cynicism is more honest than hope. Joy's face was now red, visibly boiling. Don't you stand there and lecture me about being real, she growled. Don't act like you're better than me. I'm not claiming to be better than anyone, Julia replied as she started removing the rest of her microphone. But I am choosing not to be a part of this anymore. This, Joy hissed, this is reality. This is what happens when someone finally calls you out. Julia paused, looking directly at her. You want to know what reality is, Joy? Reality is spending 20 minutes trying to break someone down for your own satisfaction. Reality is using your platform not to inform or entertain, but to hurt. I was doing my job, Joy shouted, her voice cracking. Your job is to interview, not to attack, Julia said. Your job is to have real conversations, not humiliate the people kind enough to appear on your show. Whoopi finally found her voice again. Julia, please, let's all take a moment. Maybe we can… No, Whoopi. Julia interrupted gently but firmly. Some things can't be fixed. Some actions can't be brushed off. I came here today expecting a respectful conversation about my work and my life. Instead, I walked into an ambush, led by someone who seems to take joy in making others feel small. Joy suddenly stood, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. You know what? Fine. Leave. Walk away. That's what people like you do when things get uncomfortable, right? Julia turned to face her one last time. Her face held sadness more than anger. No, Joy. People like me choose not to stay where cruelty is being passed off as honesty. We choose not to reward this kind of behavior with our time or attention. Cruelty? Joy shouted. I was asking real questions, questions a public figure like you should be ready to answer. You play America's sweetheart for a paycheck. And there it is, Julia said softly. You think I'm pretending. You think all of it, everything I've worked for, everything I've shared, is fake. But maybe that says more about how you see the world than about who I am. Joy opened her mouth like she was going to speak, then stopped. She seemed to be searching for words that wouldn't come. The audience was completely silent, gripped by the intensity of the moment. Julia took one step toward the edge of the set, her mic now fully removed. For what it's worth, she said, turning back once more, I hope one day you understand why you felt the need to do this. I hope you figure out what you were really trying to prove. Joy's voice cracked as she shouted after her. Don't you walk away from me. We're not finished. Julia paused at the edge of the stage and looked over her shoulder. Yes, we are, she said plainly. We're very much finished. And with that, Julia Roberts walked off the view set, leaving behind a stunned crowd, a shaken panel of co-hosts, and one very rattled Joy Behar, still standing at the table, breathing heavily and looking unsure of what had just taken place. The cameras kept rolling as Joy slowly sat back down. The weight of what had happened was clearly starting to sink in. She had pushed one of Hollywood's most admired actresses too far, and now she would face the fallout in front of a live audience and millions more watching at home. Whoopi finally turned to the camera, her voice quieter than usual. We'll be right back after this break. But her usual calm and warmth were missing. The damage had been done, and everyone in the room knew they had just witnessed something that would be remembered for years. As the show cut to commercial, the audience remained in their seats, still buzzing with disbelief. What they had expected to be a regular celebrity interview had instead turned into one of the most dramatic and emotional confrontations ever aired on daytime television. So, what do you think about this intense face-off? Did Joy Behar take it too far, or was she simply doing her job as an interviewer? Share your opinions in the comments below,